Hi everyone, this is Anshuk, and today I'm going to talk about how AI agents can transform how we manage risk on projects. Let me start with a quick scenario. Imagine you're managing a big software implementation. Things are mostly going fine, people are stressed, but there have been a few complaints in the Slack, but nothing that's officially been flagged. Then, all at once, a critical integration slips, the vendor says they're behind, and suddenly the go live date is at risk. When leadership asks, how did we not see this coming? The honest answer is usually that the signals were there, but no one had the time or systems to connect the dots. That's the gap I'm focusing on today. We have processes for risk management, but in reality, they're often too manual and too static. What I'm going to show is how AI agents can act like a risk radar that continuously scans the project and brings risks to us instead of waiting for something to blow up. In this presentation, I'll quickly review the traditional risk management processes and explain what I mean by an AI agent, and then walk through a couple use cases as well. Before we bring AI into the picture, I just want to ground us in the standard risk management cycle that we've seen in the past. First, you identify risks, where you brainstorm what could go wrong. You analyze and prioritize, estimate probability and impact, and then plan responses, where you come up with a mitigation or contingency plans. Last, you monitor and control. You track risks over time and update the register. On paper, this is supposed to be a continuous loop. As the project progresses, you're supposed to revisit, update, and reprioritize. In reality, though, what this usually looks like is you run a risk workshop at the start, fill out the risk register in Excel, maybe look at it once a quarter during a big review, and then you forget about it. So there's a big gap between what the methodology actually says and what happens on busy projects. And that gap is exactly where AI agents can help, not by changing the process, but by keeping it alive without adding a lot more manual effort. Let's talk about why risk management actually breaks down in the real world. Firstly, the risk register usually just turns into shelfware. We create it because methodology or the PMO requires it, but it doesn't always drive day to day decisions. Second, project managers and team leads are overloaded. They don't have time to constantly scan every email thread, chat channel, and ticket queue for early warning signs. Most of the early indicators of risk are hidden in unstructured text, like I'm blocked, waiting on a vendor, or this might slip, but no one's able to read everything. Third, we usually find out about risks when there are already issues, such as a milestone is missed, a key person quits, a vendor quietly slips a date. The core problem is that risk management is manual and reactive. Humans don't scale well for continuous monitoring. So the question I'm trying to explore is, what if we had AI agents that continuously read all these signals and proactively surface potential risks to the PM? When I say AI risk agent, I'm not just talking about casually opening ChatGPT and asking, hey, what are my project risks? I mean something a bit more structured. An AI risk agent could look like a piece of software that runs on a schedule, for example, every day or every week, and it connects to multiple project data sources, task tracking tools like MS Project, communication tools like email, Teams, or Slack, and maybe status reports or meeting notes stored in SharePoint or Google Drive. It uses AI models, usually LLMs, to read and interpret that text, looking for patterns, warning signs, and propose risk scores and mitigations. And then, as it does this, when it finishes, update a risk register or send alerts. The AI agent is like a tireless junior analyst who reads everything and constantly asks, could this be a risk? And then summarizes it for you. Now let's jump into the first and maybe most important use case, automated risk identification. Think about all the places where early risk signals live. Slack or Teams messages like, we don't have the requirements for module X. Status reports with phrases like, at risk or might slip. Emails from vendors hinting at delays or resource constraints. Individually, these might look like small issues, but if you zoom out and look across all of them, you start to see patterns. An AI risk agent could ingest this text. It pulls in data from these tools, maybe the last week of updates, Slack messages, and project channels, and the last status reports. It then scans for signals using natural language processing, looking for phrases like blocked, delayed, waiting for approval, unclear requirements, scope, or sentiment that's strongly negative or frustrated. It then infers risk events. It groups related messages and infers potential risks, like third party vendor may delay interface delivery or scope creep in reporting module. For each potential risk, it drafts something like integration with vendor X's API may be delayed 3 to 4 weeks due to outstanding technical questions and missed milestones. The cause is the vendor has not provided updated documentation and has missed two interim deadlines. And then it would go and tell you the impact. You can think of the agent as a constant idea generator for risks based on what people are actually saying and doing rather than what we remember in a workshop. Once we actually have this list of risks, the next step is prioritizing them. We can't focus on everything. Traditionally, we do this with simple scales, probability from 1 to 5 and impact from 1 to 5, and then we multiply them or map them onto a heat map. The challenge is that teams often rush through this, score everything medium, or never revisit scores when new information comes in. Here's where AI can help, not by replacing judgment, but by providing suggested scores. Identifying and scoring risks is definitely helpful, but it's not enough. The real value is in choosing how we respond. In RM, we usually talk about four classic response strategies: avoid, where you change the plan to remove the risk entirely; mitigate or reduce, where you reduce probability or impact; transfer, where you shift the risk to another party; or accept, and you consciously live with it. For each risk in the risk register, an AI can be asked to propose a recommended response type, a list of possible mitigating actions, or suggest an owner and rough timing for it. This differs from what a human can do now. Because of the pace at which an AI can scrape the internet and just access information, it can go through a lot of previous cases and learn from previous mistakes at a rate that humans cannot. The last big use case is what really differentiates an AI agent from a one-time analysis: continuous monitoring. Here's what that might look like operationally. The agent runs on a regular schedule, for example, every night. It pulls in any new data, tickets created or updated that day, new Slack or team messages in project channels, latest updates to the project schedule, or any fresh status reports. Each time it runs, it reevaluates existing risks. Did probability go up? Did a mitigation action get completed? Did a related milestone slip? Looks for new risks. Are there new patterns or blocked tasks or angry emails? Closes or downgrades old risks. If the underlying cause is resolved, it proposes closing or lowering the severity of certain tasks and generates a summary, maybe a short daily or weekly risk digest. The issue with running software like this is that we have to access all of these systems. And so an overnight run for the system could be great because people generally won't be at work. And that way they come in fresh in the morning with new action items based on the risk report that was run. Now, I know all of this sounds great, but it's really important to talk about the limits and governance of using AI agents in risk management. First of all, AI can read text, but it doesn't understand politics or context the way humans do. A risk that looks low impact on paper might be huge if a particular executive cares a lot about it. Another risk might be politically sensitive, for example, anything involving performance of someone senior, and an AI system is not going to understand those nuances. Second, there's a risk of hallucination and overconfidence. AI models can infer too much or misinterpret sarcasm as jokes in Slack. They might incorrectly group unrelated issues into a single risk. That's why everything should flow through human review, especially before risks go into official logs or are reported to executives. Third, data privacy and security matter a lot. We can't just pump confidential project emails or proprietary documents into random public models. To wrap up, let me summarize the big ideas. The risk management process itself doesn't change. We still identify, analyze, plan responses, and monitor. The gap is that we rarely do it continuously in practice because we don't have time and our tools are static. AI agents come in here. They help by continuously scanning project data for early warning signs, proposing new risks and updating existing ones, suggesting risk scores and mitigating actions, and sending regular, focused risk summaries to the PM and to the team. Now, that being said, PMs still matter more than ever because one, only humans understand the full political and strategic context. Two, only humans can balance trade-offs, negotiate with stakeholders, and decide which risks are truly acceptable. And three, humans are responsible for making sure the AI is being used ethically and responsibly. Thank you for listening.